Okay, I'm Mr. James, and welcome to an MLA edition of A Quick Guide to Formatting Your Paper. I will also make a manuscript edition for my creative writing class. This will be mostly for English 10 and English 11, how to just set up an MLA formatted paper for most of your essays. So we'll cover the basics, how to label the paper, and how to provide in-text citations. And then in the second part, the second video, we'll do when and how to cite, when and how to quote, and how to create a works cited page. So let's first talk about what a writing style guide is. It's a guideline for writers and researchers to so that they're working with a common syntax. So specific disciplines will have a different style guide. So historians will use a certain style, journalists another, and literary critics another style, which is MLA. It's kind of like a language within a language. So we all speak English, but these scholars or professionals will be using another language of their own so that it's easier for them to understand each other and be able to have an ongoing conversation, which is what scholarship is. It's an ongoing conversation about our history, our literature, our scientific discoveries, all of those things that make up academia. So there are four common style guides that we use in the United States. Chicago / Turabian is what historians use. You'll use in history classes in college, and in a historical journal or book, then you'll see the Chicago style. All of these style guides can use footnotes. A footnote is just extra information, but the Chicago style, you can tell someone's using that because it relies upon footnotes to give the in-text citations. So this allows the author to provide additional information without disrupting the flow of the text. So you can be reading about how the Russians stopped the Germans in World War II. Well, the author may have some additional information about Hitler, for example, that doesn't really belong in the main narrative or in the main argument, but he or she will put that in as additional information because other historians may be interested in seeing that information and using it in their own scholarship. Another style is the APA style. This is the American Psychological Association, which is used by, of course, psychologists, but also those who are going to become educators in college will use this style. It uses, for an in-text citation, a parenthetical style using the author's last name and the date that the research was actually written. That's because psychologists and, of course, educators, which education in psychology has a strong relationship because they're working with how to get people's brains to work, or rather how people's brains work and then how to make them stronger. They're going to be more concerned with how recent the information is. That's why they use the date system instead of the footnote system. Then we also have the AP style. This is for the Associated Press, and journalists use this. You'll see it in newspapers and magazines and online news sources. We also use this in yearbook. It is used primarily to get a bunch of information with taking up as little space as possible. So you'll see a lot of abbreviations in newspapers and stuff like that. For in-text citation, though, it just uses an attribution style. So it will just give, Donald Trump said something crazy about people, and it got everyone talking. But as long as it gave who said it and how they said it, and in hard news, like in newspapers, it will also say where they got the information. Donald Trump said in an email. Donald Trump said on a tweet. Donald Trump said at a press conference on Sunday. It'll give you specific places and media through which that information was gathered. And now we're going to look at the style that we all came here to talk about, which is a style you'll be using in my English 10 and English 11 classes. And that is the MLA style. MLA stands for Modern Language Association. The MLA handbook, last updated in 2016, uses an in-text citation style that is parenthetical based around author and page number. That's for literary scholars and literary critics to discuss literature in a way that allows each other to look at specific pieces of text. So that's why they use page number. Now, of course, there are different editions of books and page numbers may not match, but at the end of your paper, you'll have your exact specific book that you used in your bibliography, and then you can always match that to the page number, or your reader can match that to the page number as they go. So that's the primary concern with MLA style, is that we can look at specific pieces of text and have an ongoing scholarly conversation about them. So that's why they use the author page number style. So now we're going to take a look at the basics of formatting, primarily just how you label your paper. So on your first page, you'll have your name, you'll have your teacher's name, you'll have the class's name, you'll have the date, and it will be in the day, month, year format. Not the month, day, comma, year, but the day, month, year format. And we're going to take a look at that in just a second. So first you'll want to open up Office 365, and you may not be doing this right along with me, but you can. You can, leave the audio on in the background and go ahead and open a document, but otherwise you can just come back to this as a guide. But to start, you'll want to use the shortcut icon on your desktop to open Office 365. Go ahead and sign in there. And then you're going to click on the Word icon. And we're going to look at this primarily how to do it from Word Online 2016. And all of your laptops should be set up so that Office 2016 is on your desktop too. So as long as you'll download a copy, even if you don't have internet access at home, you can still work on that document later, as long as you make sure and save it onto the computer. Or if you start your document from home, this ought to work in pretty much the same way. Now we're going to look at a short screen recording and watch step by step what this looks like. Okay, first we're going to change the font size. MLA accepts a few different fonts, but Mr. James is only going to accept Times New Roman, size 12 point. Got my font ready. Now I'm going to go to Paragraph, click on the drop-down arrow icon. That's going to go to Spacing. I want my line spacing to be double, not multiple or single. Click OK, not cancel, don't close the box, make sure you click OK. Then we're going to start labeling the paper. You're going to start with your name first and last. Then you're going to start with your teacher's name. You can type Joshua James, Mr. James, just as long as it actually is my name. Then you're going to do the class name. We're just going to go ahead and go with English 11. Then the date. In this format, we put the day, then the month written out fully, and then the year, all 4 digits. Next, I'm going to hit enter one more time. I'm going to center, and I'm going to write a title. A clever but informative title. Let's go ahead and do it in the actual correct format. And notice all those mistakes I made. That's okay, we're still rolling. Then enter again, and we're going to go back to left alignment, and we're going to click Tab have to indent our first paragraph. Now we're going to make sure the rest of the page is labeled correctly. Now, for longer reports, you can use a cover page, but for shorter papers, which are the ones we're going to be writing mostly, we're just going to use a page 1 labeled this way. We're also going to have to paginate our document by inserting a header. It's going to be right justified, so you go to this right-hand box. You're going to type your last name, then space. Then we're going to insert a page number. And we want to insert it with the same justification as we have this. So right corner, top right-hand corner. It's going to go right there. You'll see the page numbers added there later. On Microsoft Word 2013, this looks a little bit different, so don't get confused. Do it exactly this way from Word Online. We're going to go over here before we close out the header and footer. We're going to click on Options, and we're going to select Different First Page. In MLA format, your page 1 is not to be labeled. Everybody knows it's page 1 because it has the labeling information. It has your name, your teacher's name, the class, the date, and a title. So your first page number will show up with your last name and a number 2 on the second page in the top right-hand corner. Once that's done, we should be good to go. It will disappear, but that's okay. It will show back up. And as a matter of fact, we can look to see what the other pages will look like. Actually, we can't because, yes, see, right here it shows us last name, page number, and the first page will look blank. Now we're going to talk about parenthetical in-text citations in MLA. It uses the author page number style, as I stated earlier in the video. So quotes and paraphrases are followed by the open parenthesis, the author's last name, a space, the page number, then close parenthesis, and then the punctuation. This can be confusing because most of the time in dialogue, the rule is the punctuation goes inside the quotation marks. When you're reading a novel, that's what the punctuation looks like. And that is the correct way to do it, except for when you're writing an academic style. So in MLA citation, it goes your quotation marks, your quote, close quotation marks, space, parentheses, author's last name, space, page number, close parenthesis, then your period or whatever punctuation. If you were going to continue on the sentence, you might want to put a comma there. It just depends on what sentence structure you're shooting for. So we have the example here. Most cats are annoying. James 24. That's obviously a fictional book, but that might be something I would write. So I cited myself there because I'm a dog person. As far as when to cite information, we're going to go into that in part 2, but let's just go ahead and put out the rule of thumb just so you can hear it over and over and over. Anytime the information comes from anywhere but your brain, it gets cited. Even if you're not quoting it, even if it's a paraphrase, I still want to quote or still want to cite where I took that information from. Let's go ahead and take a look at an example, one more example in this Word document. So if you'll look here, this is taken from something that you'll see in class actually, where I just kind of describe what an introduction's like. Now that we have written an effective introduction and then began our second paragraph, we will incorporate some evidence to support our claim. We must cite any information taken from an outside source, whether we paraphrase or quote the information. So then if we look at the highlighted section, according to The Shining, all work and no play makes Jack a dull boy. King 155, then the period is right after. Even if we just take the information from phantoms, we must cite it. They eventually realized the killer was an ancient supernatural force. Kuntz 200, period after the parentheses.